All right then. All right, all right, all right. Mhm. We are started today. We want to welcome everybody. So y'all at the show. Just setting up a few details before we get started today. We're away here. Fantastic show. So Wednesday, we're talking about relationships. Talking about relationships today on Wednesday. Setting things up. More appreciate everybody who's here, who's going to be here, taking in the content. Strive for excellence. Hmm. This what happens when you try some new stuff. When you're still learning, you're still picking it up. You're good to go. I'll talk about relationships. Relationship Wednesdays. Started on Mondays with our motivation for Monday. Relationships. And there we go. Oh, nope. Trying to get back to where I am viewing the live. At least I found it one way, but that's not exactly what I was looking for. I want to be able to see your comments as we have our. Oh, the comments are right there. This is just how I'm going to have to see it. What is your opinion on global, about Globe Live? That's not what we're talking about today. Something we can get into on a different day. Appreciate you being here, Peggy. So, my good people, my good people, I learn more what I'm doing here on this stream. I would that right there, and I go through all that process. Today is Wednesday, so on Wednesday we talk about relationships. We don't talk about unless it's spirituality or something like that has to do with the relationship conversation. We don't go into other parts of it. I want every day to be different. So today, Wednesday, I'm going to deal with relationship. Thursdays and Fridays are a bit more free for all. They do come with a subject matter, but they are a little bit more open to moving into different subjects. So that's something that we'll hold off on until then. Today we're talking about has movies and television shows ruined relationships. As I said in the live yesterday, can't just talk about the same things over and over again. In order to become the whole person, feel our fullness of ourselves, we have to be able to discuss and the other aspects of who we are, full truth and full oneness. Right. So I got my coffee in hand, got my cigar in hand. Later on, you're going to see that the thumbnail for this one is a picture from the movie Pretty Woman. But we're going to talk about different variations of relationships. But Pretty Woman was one of a huge deception movie. Created a mentality where men thought that all they needed was some money and some charm, and women thought that no matter how desperate their situation was, Prince Charming is going to come in rescue them from their situation, which is an interesting thought. It is not unusual for women to have a desire for security. And in our world today, back in the day, it might have been owning land and having a farm. Today, it's, the type of job that a man has, how much money he's bringing in. Very valid things for a woman to have. But we don't live in an agrarian culture today. We don't. We live in a culture where everybody works. Everybody can make just as much money as anybody else. But there is still the perception that a man should do the bulk, if not all, the providing. The way inflation has changed over the last 50, 60 years, for most people, that's going to damn near be an impossible. There are ways to make it work, but for most people, it's not. The movie Pretty Woman created this idea where it doesn't matter where. I was watching this TikTok video, and the young lady who lives in this apartment with her mother, shares a car with her mother, works at Wendy's, was dogging a gentleman who lived in the same complex. He was living by himself. He had his own car. He had a better job, but she called him broke. And that her expectations is for a man who can come in and take her to places that she can't take herself. It is movies like Pretty Woman that has brought that type of mentality into play, where it doesn't matter the level that the woman is in. He should be loved and cherished for her character and her personality and the intangibles, whereas the man has to have tangibles. To a certain extent, that's understandable. I would not want any of my daughters to be with a man whose ability to financially take care of them was poverty level. Not my desire for my girls. My son, I let him know that you cannot be a poverty level dude, but expect to get a high class woman. Those things don't normally match up. We had the movie not too many years ago where Steve Harvey broke the bro code in that movie. Think like a man, act like a woman. One of the central characters in the movie, he was valeting, and the other lady was this high corporate person. And the movie gave this false idea that even after all the truth has come out, that she would see the value and potential and how he takes care of her and loves her. And then she would have this miraculous come to Jesus moment when she's out dating someone who has the finances and the accolades, but she would realize he doesn't make her feel. He doesn't make her love the way that the little broke guy did, the guy who had a dream did. And then when she comes to this realization, and all of a sudden he's taken in some loans and gotten himself where he's fulfilling a portion of his dream, she shows up to come and be a part, and they immediately go back into love with each other. There are some men walking around with this bullshit idea that a woman who is incredibly well established is going to go through the struggle of with you. And even if you break up, once she sees that you are moving in your potential, that is becoming kinetic, she's going to magically appear, and then y'all are going to make it work out. It doesn't happen that way. And for people to walk around with these types of expectations shows that they actually have no idea of reality. You dated in high school, you broke up, or you dated in college and you broke up. You known each other in your early years of your career and you broke up. 20 years later, after you've married and divorced, or she's married and divorced, or your spouse, you're a widow or a widower, you've raised your kids, you chance meet each other, go through some stuff, is this all great and joyful and fun? And then there's a misunderstanding that could have easily been solved. But those misunderstandings that could easily be solved have to not be solved because the movie has to happen. And then you bust into the wedding, or you run into her job, or she comes to your job, or you're about to get on a plane and this great love profession happens. These movies and television, these movies have severely warped the mentality of people and their thought process on how a relationship should function and how relationships happen. They don't happen that way. That is not what happens in real life. And one of the worst things are these reality shows. These reality shows are horrible, horrible. These reality shows are filled with images of people who are living well beyond their means. Even the people within the reality shows, for the most part, are living well beyond their means. Living here in Atlanta, uh, there have been, they show these people, and then you go find out that the house that they claim that is their own, they're actually renting those houses, and not even renting them at full price. There was one reality show in particular, the Atlanta Housewives show. Keep me from getting sued or anything or censored. I won't mention names, but one of the primary people in this Atlanta Housewives show who were acting like that was their house, they were actually participating in a program where if you have really nice furniture, it has to be really, really nice furniture. These almost $1 million homes and $1 million homes will allow you to rent them at a very cheap price. And then, and you stay in home. Now, they have to be available for you through the home, all that sort of thing. The home has to be kept a certain way the entire time. There was all this stuff. But they portrayed themselves as if they were some big business. They was making all this money. They were doing all this business. And yet the entire time they were renting their home. It wasn't even a normal rent. It wasn't like they were able to afford a $10,000 to $20,000 rent on these homes. They were paying average rental prices for a luxury house because they had luxury furniture. But people start having these expectations. The girl has the guy, got what she called him. He buys her a car straight up. And, her sugar daddy buys her a car. And then people start having these expectations. That's what a man is supposed to do. That's how a woman is. But this is a false reality of what happens in a relationship and how you build a relationship. Relationships are not built on that sort of thing, cannot be built on that sort of thing, and will not ever be built on those sorts of things. But these movies and television shows have created this idea in people's mind that this is how relationships happen. It is all about the man doing the chase. She's upset, she's angry. I'm going to chase her out the door. Oh, we had a misunderstanding, but I'm going to show up at the airport. Or 5 years later, I'm going to show up at her wedding and profess my love. And she's going to run off because she's always loved me. That does not happen. She always loved me. So I'm going to run off and be with, and she's going to run off with me, and we're going to go have this fabulous love life, this fabulous love affair, and go live in such great harmony for the next 50 years. That does not happen. It does not happen that way. Uh, the guy, you bust into somebody's wedding, huh? You probably get beat down. You will get beat down. And then that person is probably going to look at you like, are you crazy? I'm through with you. I was through with you like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And you now want to run up to me and profess your love in front of my lady or in front of my man. And I'm supposed to just fall for you and go with that. You've been watching too many movies. You've been watching too much television. That BS does not happen that way. It does not happen that way. If any of y'all have ever seen that in real life, let me know. Let me know if you've seen that in real life. In the comments, just let me know. Because I don't believe it. It doesn't happen. You're not Romeo and Juliet. Nobody's drinking poison because of their undying love and they can't live without you. So it even goes beyond the movies and the little television shows. It goes further back to the stories that was written of these fantasies. And that's the thing. That's what it turns out to be. It turns out to be fantasies, right? It turns out to be fantasies. Hey, Teresa, how you doing? These movies and television shows and books have created these fantasies of what relationships, of how they're going to function and how they flow. And people keep buying into it. And every time they buy into it, it throws off them actually having the ability to build a true relationship. And I'm gonna give you one more, give you another one before we go even further. It is those that do the, well, you know, my daddy and my mama, my grandparents, they stayed together for 50 years until they passed, till my granddaddy passed away, or till my grandmother passed away, or till my parents passed away. Do you realize that women, glad that you're doing well, Teresa. Do you realize that women really didn't have options of divorce? That the first thing is that they were considered a stir in the community, that they were separated and disenfranchised from the community if they got divorced. Which was funny because the man could get a divorce and the neighborhood still invited him over. The other women, married women, would try to hook him up, but a divorced woman was considered one of the worst people in the neighborhood, especially by the other women, because they did not want their man being anywhere near a divorcee. They did not. So the divorced woman was a skirt. She had a red letter on her shirt. She was marked. Now, not only that, the ability for, well, first, did you know that prior to like 1960s, in the majority of cases, the man would be the one who would keep the children if they got a divorce? Most of the time, back then, back in the day, women didn't keep the kids. They didn't get the kids. Most courts automatically gave them to the husband. So you put on top of that, that the woman now has to leave her children. You put on top of that, that it was more difficult for a woman to be able to financially provide for herself, barely above the poverty level. Most women who would get divorced, if you would have gotten divorced in the 50s and 60s, you were going to more than likely be at poverty level. So women didn't have many choices. An abusive husband, in the 50s, a husband slaps his wife, that wasn't a crime. In the 50s, if a husband was to force his wife to have sex, that wasn't a crime. You don't get into women having actual rights within divorce until the 1970s. you don't get to where where it's affordable for a woman to get a divorce until the 80s and 90s. So when people say my grandparents, even my own personal grandparents, stayed together until death did them apart, they weren't happy. They were not happy. If my grandmother could have gotten a divorce in the 60s, she probably would have. She could have got it in the 50s, she probably would have. If things were like they were today, my grandmother probably would have divorced my grandfather. Because from the stories that I've heard, he would, and I can believe him, because he was grouchy when I was growing up. But the stories, he was mean as shit, and he was abusive in the early days of their marriage. But what was a poor little Carrollton girl going to do? Carrollton, Georgia girl going to do with children back in the 1950s, in the 1940s? What's she going to do? She didn't have many options. So, I mean, for my grandmother's entire life, she pretty much worked for the majority of her life. She worked as a maid. She worked for the majority of her life. So, what was she going to do? How was she going to provide for her 5 children? Five. One, two, yeah, 5. How's she going to provide for those 5 children? It's going to be difficult. And more often than not, my grandfather would have got the kids anyway. Not going to happen. So women were trapped. So when people tell me that their grandparents or parents stayed together that long, and yeah, they had problems, but they fought through it. When you don't have the financial means to be able to leave somebody, yeah, you have a tendency to fight through it. You have a tendency to fight through it. Women had a tendency to allow him to have a whole separate family, to have kids by other women, and they still stayed with them. They have a tendency to allow that. And yeah, you have some great women who still took care of those kids, who still treated them like family and didn't create the separations. You had that. There are some strengths in that community, in those people, that we don't have today. But when you're left with very few options, you usually take the best one. The best one is to stay. And then when you get old, and you spent the majority of your life with this person, now both of y'all are old. He may have calmed down now because he's too old to still be physically violent, or she can whoop his butt now, because he's generally is 10, 15, 20 years older than her. The kids are adults now, and kids can whoop his butt. So he's calmed down now. Now he's learned. He not found his righteousness. No, he got old. He got old, and he's not able to do what he was able to do. It's against the law now, so he can't do those things. So what is it? What is it? What do we do about this? Because relationships are the foundation of a community. Relationships will always be the foundation. And we are quickly losing that foundation because we don't know how to initiate a healthy relationship, because we've been given these false ideas of what a relationship is, what a great relationship. We don't have those. We have very few examples of a truly great relationship. If you can name, like, one of the things that I loved about the Cosby Show, I know bringing up Bill Cosby today, people, one of the things I actually loved about the Cosby Show is that it showed them showing love to each other and respect to each other. Even when they were angry with each other, they still showed love and respect for one another. They showed unity as parents. Even when they disagreed behind the closed doors, but they came out to the children as a uniting front. They didn't allow their difference of opinion to create a situation where the children would be able to use one parent over the other. So I did love that aspect of that show. It showed a good Black relationship. I couldn't stand George and Weezy. Couldn't stand George and Weezy. Couldn't stand, what's the other one? Got the name of the show. Was it Good Times? Couldn't stand the relationship in Good Times. Drove me insane watching that relationship. James is always angry. Was it Esther? What was her name? Was it Esther? She was always praying. Anger and prayer. That's all what's going on in that show. You know, it gives some lessons, but anger and prayer. They throw a little love in there every now and then, for the most part, not so much. So, where was the vibe? So, what do we do? We do. Because we're constantly bombarded by these televisions, by these movies. Sure, we can say that these movies and televisions are false reality. But Florida. Oh, Florida. Yeah, that was her name. I think her real name in life is Esther Rose, right? But thank you, thank you. You know, the thing about we're never going to turn it off. People are going to constantly write books. They're going to constantly portray these things in the movie. As we grow up, this is what kids see. This is what we still see. And whether we say, "Oh, that's not real," that's not real, it still gets into your system. It's like air. Air permeates the body no matter what's going on. Unless you're in a vacuum, air is still permeating the body. Light still permeates the body. Even in total darkness, there is actually still light. There's no such thing as total darkness. What do you do about it? What can you do about it? I mean, really, I really want to hear some of you guys' opinions on it, actually. I do. A Chef, Angelina, Teresa. When you are there, no relationship is going to be perfect. There are going to be some struggles. There are going to be some issues. Communication is vital and important in every relationship. Without good communication, it's not going to work. Period. It's never going to work. We talked about leadership a couple of weeks ago, and some of those aspects of leadership. And one of the big ones is the ability to communicate, the ability to make sure that information goes across to everyone clear and concise. But without the checking of the ego, your communication will find itself lacking. When you do come in, and some ground rules have to be set. Right? Set some ground rules. Don. But you set some ground rules. Like, I don't believe in calling each other out of our name. When you start name calling, you can't take that shit back. Just be honest about it. You can't take it back. You can't. If we get into an argument and you call me that you sorry MF lazy bastard this, you know, and that's why you use some of my well, I'll get to that one later. But you calling me all these names. If you don't make it a point to not call each other names, and you allow yourselves to go into rants and anger where you call each other out of your name, you are destined to fail in that relationship. Because no matter how much you apologize, when you come and say, you know what, I know I called you, a sorry SOB. I called you a pan, punk ass. I called you that. I didn't mean it. That's not how I really feel. No. At that time frame, at that moment, that's how you really feel. Because that's what you said. That's what you called me. So although you may apologize for it now, and you may regret using those terms, That's exactly what you called me. So therefore, that's how there's a part of you that actually feels that way. And since there's a part of you that actually feels that way, that you didn't have enough tact or bearing or weren't intelligent enough to keep it to yourself, I can no longer participate in this relationship. Don't go into a relationship so many expectations of a person. There are going to be expectations though, but you can't go in there with unrealistic expectations. Like I expect I expect consideration in a relationship. I expect um, consideration is very, very big to me. It's huge. It's really huge because it covers so much ground. You see, I expect you to give me the benefit of the doubt and the consideration that when you hear things or see things that it may not be as they appear. I expect the consideration of if you're coming to see me, do I need something or do I want something? Because I'm going to give you that same consideration. I expect for you to like I measure my words and I measure my actions as to how they may affect my lady, right? So there are certain people who come into this lounge. If they say let's go and hang out, I'll say no. Not because I would go out and do something that would be offensive to a relationship, lady. It is just because of the perception of who that person is. Well, in the damn possession, the reality to who those people are. So why would I endanger the relationship? Create a situation where she's like, I know this joker and what he does, so I'm not going to allow him. That's going to be, even though I said, I don't have a problem with it, I'd rather you not have that nagging thought. I expect that same type of consideration. If, there are certain people that we just shouldn't be around if you're going to be in a relationship. If there were some people in my life who was not good for my relationship, I'm getting rid of them and be around you. The person that your spouse is the only person that promises to be with you for the rest of your life. Everybody else leaves you. You guys heard me say that 11 times. So those people have to go. They're not more important. They're not. They can never be more important. I want that consideration because I give that consideration. I think about the words that I'm going to speak as I speak them and before I speak them because I'm giving the consideration. Even in this video that I'm doing right now, as I speak, because I have a lady, I am measuring the thoughts that are going through my head before they come out my mouth, because I would not want anything that I say here to be embarrassing or disrespectful towards her. I would not want any of my actions to be embarrassing or disrespectful. So I'm going to have some expectations from the other person. I told you guys a week ago, a couple weeks ago, when it comes to caretaking, I love being taken care of and I love to take care of. Now, equal doesn't look the same all the time. There are different, you know, what she does for me is not necessarily what I need to do for her. And I told you I'm woefully behind. I am woefully behind compared to what she does for me. Most of that has to do with time, but hell, even if I had time, I don't think I can. I don't think I can compete with this woman. But I love the fact that I do want to compete. I plan to compete at a higher level. I'm working towards competing now, simply because if I'm competing at a higher level to take better care of her, and then she's competitive too. And then she competes even more. And we're continuously competing against each other to take better care of each other, to show more love, to show more affection, to show more gratitude and everything else, and consideration and respect and honor. And we should grow into a higher state of a relationship. Relationship should always be growing. Remember, the law of vibration is everything is always vibrating. Everything is always either going increasing its vibration or it's decreasing its vibration. Nothing stands still, nothing stands stagnant. Stagnation is death. There is no stagnation. You're either growing into higher life or you're dying into lower life. One of the two. That's all that's happening at all times. There's no in the middle. There's no middle ground. There's no middle ground. You're either trying to grow the relationship or you killing the relationship. These movies gives you unrealistic ideas. These television shows give you unrealistic expectations. And I get what you're saying, Teresa, and that you know, there's so many expectations of a person, but there should be expectations. People like to say, love me as I am. And that's true to a certain extent. To a certain extent, everybody should be loved as they are. You should not have to do things that are disingenuous. You shouldn't have to do things that are, for lack of a better term, blasphemous to the spirit of your being in order to be in a relationship with somebody. The only things you should ever change are the things that you want to change for yourself. I never want someone to change something for me, and I will never again change myself for someone else. So then it just comes to matchups, but there are some adjustments that everyone has to make in order to be in a relationship. Everyone has to make some sort of adjustment. Just the adjustment of coming and living in the same house together. You now can't do everything that you used to do because every aspect of how you lived your life, it's not going to be, you know, equitable to that person. They're not going to like it. It's not going to be respectful. It's not going to be loving. Everything they're not going to like. And if it's a minor thing that you don't mind changing, then that's fine. Make that change. But when it's something that's major, nah. I once was with someone and they told me that they wanted me to stop wearing this, even though I expressed to them what the symbology of it all means. Because of their spirituality, they didn't want me to wear it. They can kick rocks on that. That's a major change. They didn't want me to make videos as much or at all, really. That's a major change. I'm not doing that. That's part of my ethos. We're not doing that. But when it's minor things, let's say you were a person who you didn't take off your shoes when you walked in. Not a big deal to take your shoes off. I'm the type where I take the shoes off and the shoes are currently in the. I used to take the shoes off and I take them upstairs and put them in the closet, right? Uh, but when you put them on, because you don't want to track outside all through your house. That's my thought. I don't want to track outside. I don't want to bring that energy all through my house. Well, I'm gonna take them off and I'm gonna take them upstairs. But when I put them on again, I'm walking from the upstairs back out the, downstairs and out through my office and through the kitchen and out to the garage. I'm still tracking that outside through my house. So my lady decided to put a shoe thing by the front door. I mean, by the garage door, which is the door we primarily use. Put a shoe thing there. It's not a big change. It's a minor change. Doesn't bother me. But plus, it makes sense. Now I'm not tracking all day through the house, whether it's track at early when I first come in or when I'm leaving. You take your shoes off when you. Minor changes, minor adjustments. Those types of things are expected. They're going to happen. And when they happen, you just move on with it. But major changes, no. Major expectations, no. Should a person already have a certain level of happiness within themselves before they get into a relationship? They most certainly should. They most certainly should. You shouldn't have somebody coming in your life and to make you happy. Mm-mm. Not to make you happy. A person should come into your life to enhance the happiness that you already have. That's the only that's what you look that's what you're looking for. Someone to enhance your happiness. You know, ain't nothing worse than a sad man or a sad woman trying to get into a relationship. You, you all you're going to do is make the other person sad. All you're going to do is just mess that person up. Keep your sad self by yourself. Go make yourself happy. Go learn what gives you happiness. And if you learn what gives you happiness and you're in those spaces where you're finding your happiness, guess what? You're going to find somebody who likes and enjoys that same thing. Hopefully, you guys have other things that you share as well that can continue to propel your happiness. Right. But like these movies and stuff, they don't work that way. These television shows, they don't work that way. They have these people who are diametrically opposed to each other getting into these relationships, and the movie makes it work because the movie got a movie. What was the Why Did I Get Married? You had the Mike White, the guy last name White. He is married to the girl who was all, I don't know her name either. She was all, over the top, overly authoritative, dogging him out. He's just sit there. And it wasn't until the end when he like cussed her out and cussed out the mother of his child, and then told them they better work it out, that he stepped into his authority. Y'all think it happens like that in real life? No. In real life, if Michael Jahar White would have had them both outside and would have said all of that stuff, either those two ladies still would have fought, or his wife still would have fought him, and they would have just been yelling at each other back and forth, and they would have got a divorce and all this kind of stuff. Because at this point, her hair salon is doing well, she's making this money. She ain't worth. No, she gonna be like, if she already had this attitude, she gonna kick him to the curb. Because financially, she doesn't need him. She might have needed him in the past, because I think according to the movie, it was his football money that enabled her to build her salon. So she might have needed him in the past financially, but now that she didn't need him financially, I'm sorry. A woman who doesn't need a man financially is not going to, and she has that type of behavior. Let me clarify. She has that type of behavior. She ain't gonna buy into that bullshit. She ain't gonna go for that. He ain't gonna put her in her place. That's movies. That's TV. It doesn't work that way. A broke man is not about to put a financially stable woman in her place if she has that type of attitude that she rules the house. She runs this family. That's not gonna happen. I have seen one relationship, and it was an interesting, weird relationship to me. Um, I was around these people, oh, almost 20 years ago. I tried to avoid being around them as often as possible. But it was a situation where, yes, this guy, he made the money. He got them, the he created the lifestyle. The wife was, and just like that lady in that movie, she in Why Did I Get Married? She was overbearing. She was super authoritative, thinking she could tell everybody what to do, especially if he was at her house. You know, I used to think she was crazy when I first met her because I would hear some of the stories. She was that person. Now, he would sit there and not say nothing. He'd be down in the basement in his office, not saying much, not dealing with anything. But if things got too rambunctious, he would come upstairs and then he'd put her in her place. But he could do that because financially, she would not be able to support herself. Some people today would look at their relationship like they've been together for like 40 years. That's amazing. That's awesome. No, it's not. They don't communicate with each other. They don't deal with each other. Um, and I know some things about him that most people don't know. If you get my drift, I know some things he be doing, but they're not a happy couple. And just because they've been together for 40 years, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Do you celebrate somebody who's been on a job for 40 years and they hate their job for the majority of that 40? That they're only doing the job simply because it was the opportunity that they had. You're not. And I mean, I've done that before where I became an IT guy because I did it for the money. But as soon as I can get out of it, I got out of it. I hated IT. Some of my friends who are still IT and I know they hate it, they tell me about how much they hate it all the time, but they're trapped. They're trapped in it. And people are trapped in some of these relationships. Now, I haven't always been great in relationships. I've made my mistakes, and some of the things that you guys hear coming out of me now is not things that I knew back in the day. Um, when I was younger, I didn't know a lot of the things that I actually know now, which is why I messed up the relationship. Right? I completely take responsibility for that first marriage. I messed that up poorly myself. But from that, I learned. Over the next after that, over the next 3-4 years, I learned. I would always think about that relationship and how I made mistakes and what did I do, how my conflict resolution wasn't that great. I didn't argue, yell, fuss. I didn't call her out her name, things like that. But I will let something sit. I would let a situation sit and not say anything because I didn't want to hurt the feelings. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden, the fruit of that turns out to be negative things that affect the relationship. I was not good at conflict resolutions at all. I wasn't even good at conflict resolution within myself at all. So, and the fruits of that leads you into placebos, that distractions, that makes you think that everything's all right, and it's not. So, the point of that is that most of us who've been around for a while, we've learned some things. Unfortunately, we've also built up walls that prevents us from being able to have a good relationship. I was bad at picking for a while. I was horrible at picking a relationship for a while because I may see a red flag, but I would think that I can fix the red flag. If they told me that it was something that they wanted to change about them, hell, I was working more actively to make the change than they were, not realizing that if a person tells me they want to make a change, I really need to sit back and watch, sit back and wait for them to demonstrate that they want to make the change first. If I would have done that, um, I probably, some of the relationships that I was in for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 5 years, 1 year, those relationships would have never happened, or they would have ended much, much sooner. And they would have ended in the vetting process. Most of us don't know how to vet someone and take time to vet. I have to watch this later. I'm about to clock in for work. But just to comment on your life short, yes, TV has ruined relationships unless you realize you're watching fiction. Exactly, Stephanie. If you're watching fiction, and thank you for the time that you've been on here, and I can watch this stuff. It's exactly. It's so much fiction. It's what a perfect situation would be. It's what a perfect situation would be. If you love that movie, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, give me a yes in the comment. If you love that, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. If you've never seen it, go watch it. But if you love that movie, Put a yes in the comment. Stella, the concept of it is you have this older woman, which 40s would have been older for this movie. Something happened. I think she got a divorce or she had a breakup or something. She had just been working, building her career. She goes down to Jamaica to take a break. She meets a 20-year-old Tay Diggs, I think is the actor. Angela Bassett and Tay Diggs. Meets this 20-year-old. They have fun, but then they start feeling each other, falling in love. She brings him back home. Right? And when they get home, they start going through the pressures of family and friends, and everything is about age, and everything is about um, money. And they go through a struggle. They break up, but then they realize that age doesn't matter and money doesn't matter. That's some bullshit. Age and money matters in a relationship. Age and money matters in every relationship. You're not going to find a relationship where age and money does not matter. It's always going to make a difference in a relationship as far as how much money is involved in the relationship and how old the people are. Hell, I a constant running little joke, a running joke right now in me and my latest relationship. We're only 4 years apart. Yeah, 4 years apart. But now, hell no. 3.5 years apart. Get my 6 months, 6 months. We're like 3.5 years apart. And I grew up in Atlanta. She grew up in Wilmington, Atlanta. You got different, those 4 years and that different type of city environment. Uh, Small beach town, beach river town versus a southern big city. You got different mentalities. You got different ideas of life. You got some seriously different experiences. We was in here talking one day, and it just wasn't just me, but we was talking about a lot of the kind of illegal things that was going on in the city, but they were common, like putting bills in your children's names, uh, selling food stamps. What else were we talking? Well, we was talking about all these different things that we did that were common. You know, the beer house. You know, on Sunday there was somebody the bootlegger house going over to the beer house, and everybody respected the beer house. Even the cops used to go to the beer houses. Right? We was talking about all these things, and she was like, "What? What are y'all talking about?" You know, it's minor, but those are things that does make a difference within a couple. You know, sometimes I'll mention a movie or a song or something like that. We was playing some. She claims it had some 90s in there. Everything was 70s, 70s. Some of it was 60s. I knew a lot of the songs. No, it was 80s. I knew a lot of the songs. She didn't because at 14, that me being 14, 15, and her being 3.5 years younger. Uh, some of those songs she had never heard of, and I'm sitting up here singing these songs, and I'm just going in having a good time, just singing these songs. And she just looking at me like you know this song? I've never heard this song. And it was a lot of light rock songs. She was, but imagine that over a 20-year period, a 20-year gap. There's a 20-year gap in a relationship. There's a lot of conversation that you can't have. There's a lot of conversation that you look at that person like, really? I mean, when I was a grown man in Desert Storm, she was like really just entering high school. And completely different memories of the time frame and completely different ideas about that time frame. Imagine if when I was in Desert Storm, you was just being born. I mean, if there was a 20-year gap. I'm in Desert Storm and you was just born. I'm living in Germany and you don't even have memories of you was 3. I'm 23, 24 in Germany. You 4 years old. Those things make a huge difference. So when that movie How Stella Got a Groove Back and they showing this 20-year gap, it doesn't matter. Age is only a number. Bullshit. Bullshit. To a certain degree, at certain time frames, yes, age is only a number, but there are inherent problems with that. There's a gentleman who comes into my lounge. He experienced it. That 20, 30-year gap that he got going is causing him a lot of struggle and a lot of pain. I'm only halfway through this movie called Deep Water right now. I'm going to finish it today, but I'm halfway through this movie called Deep. One of the very apparent things in this movie is that the husband is definitely 20 plus years older than the wife. She's still a party girl. She's still getting drunk. She's still doing all this crazy stuff. He's not that kind of guy. He's not into that. And they're struggling in the relationship. Now, I don't know how this movie ends. That's she's reading things you've been through in her history. You know, that's a low blow right there. See, Angelina, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. And you're gonna laugh at that? You laughing at that, my guy? I think they're pictures of guys. That's a low blow. But let me tell you, I know this is off subject. Made me so mad when my kids came up to me and they told me they were studying Desert Storm and bombings in their history book. I'm like, how in the hell is my life your history now? That I had to walk away first for a little bit before I came and did that homework with my kids. But I had to walk away. But yeah, when they read in the history book something you lived through, that's messed up. That's a messed up feeling. But there's also a level in this movie, Deep Water. There are levels of maturity that this big age gap just can't cover. Unless you get what we would generally call an old soul, that 20-year age gap doesn't work. Or, my max became 10 years. Well, I tried. My max used to be, it was like 5 years. But then on 2 occasions, I said, you know what? I give it 10 years. I did 10 years on 2 occasions, and I regretted it. Even with 10 years, there's too much of a gap. These movies will make you think that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years is a problem. We've popularized cougars. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was a single guy out here and I was dealing with a cougar, let's be real, it's because she got money. I wouldn't deal with a broke cougar. It'd be because she got money. I'm 50, but I'm 51. A woman would have to be what to be a cougar for me? Your parents have a 10-year gap. That would be my max. But now I'm back to 5-year gap. And if I was getting with a cougar, she'd have to be like in her mid to late 60s and above. I don't want that. I don't want that. It would have to be because of money. Because I'll start thinking long term, like, hell, we both gonna be jacked up. I was 29 dating a 51-year-old. Are you crazy? You crazy. Crazy. So that is what? That is a 22-year gap. That's a 22-year gap, I believe. My math is correct. So in a 22-year gap, when you would be, if y'all stayed together, and when you're 50, she'd be what, 72? 72. Look at me, dude. Look at me, man. I'm 51. I think your picture, you're a brother. You know, black don't crack. You know, black don't crack. But, and I know, don't get me wrong, there are some 72-year-old women out there. They look fantastic. They're active. All that is great. But the overwhelming majority of 72-year-old women are not looking great. They're not active great. They're more stable. Well, not stable. They're more sedentary. And you 51, you still ripping and running. You still jumping on airplanes. Nah, bruh. At 51, at 50 years old, you taking her to the doctor all the time. That'd be, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go on Piccadilly's and get the early birds. Then it's later on, 6 o'clock. You know, you got to be in bed by 8. You got a doctor visit on Monday. You got another one on Thursday. That's all you be doing. You be doctor visiting. Right. They got different names for them. Cougars are considered to be women in their 40s dating men 10, 20 years their junior. And they got other animal names for if you're at a higher age. If I stayed her, it definitely because the the AARP benefits. And then what about the sex? Think about the sex. Was that iconic? Think about this. 2951. You know, you in there. 5172, a little bit different. A little bit different. You know, 60 and 82, 70 and 92. Man, can't do it, bro. That's why I don't to anything past 10 years to me is pushing it. Pushing it. Yes, at a certain point, the all those minor things like music and political things that happen, you know, they become minute. But there are some major things that you have to think about. Because when I was in my 30s, there was a woman who wanted to date me. She was in her 50s. And I said it very harshly, and it was the worst. Like I said, I wasn't good sometimes at communicating. It was one of the worst ways for me to express it. But I told her that we couldn't date because, you know, I told her I think it was something like when I would be, oh, she was almost 30 years older. Yeah, she was almost 30 years older. No. She was 20 something years older. But anyway, I told her, I said, because when I'm 60 and you're like 80 something, I'm not pushing you around in a wheelchair. And she was rightfully upset with me. Rightfully upset. I did have to come back and grovel and apologize for my statement. But the ideas was true in my head. I'm not, I'm not gonna be 60 and I'm pushing you around simply because you got old. Not to say that 82 she's going to be in that situation. I hope that she's not. But that was a real thought process for me. It was a real thought. But these movies and television got us thinking that these ages don't matter because they show it at a time frame where the age really is not as impactful. And that's how they get away with it. Yeah, I know it was wrong, man. You ain't have to remind me dark green. It was wrong. I was look. I didn't know how to deal with people. Situation back then. I got married at 19 to the girl I dated through most of high school. And I was what 36, first time dating as an adult. I was coming out of the Marine Corps. No, we just straightforward, literal, and blatant in the Marine Corps. We don't play around with words. So I didn't know that you have to, soothe and massage your words when you're dealing with people's feelings. My bad. Right. We still ended up being all right with each other. She ain't not still harboring it. But I think she must have understood because for the last like 10, 15 years, she's been with a guy who is her age, closer to her age. But she was a big time cougar, jaguar, lioness, whatever animal works. You broke up with her because you started to feel old, but she didn't. She didn't want to go out and live life. Exactly, and those are the things you have to consider. And just as a reminder, because I'm doing this through Zoom into YouTube stream, and if you're finding me for the first time, please subscribe. We do talk about spirituality on most shows, but Wednesday is dedicated to relationships. Um, that's the thing. She wants to sit around and not do nothing, so you wind up sitting around and not doing anything, right? And you start winding out at an early age. You was 29, right? I think 29, and she was 51. At 29, you still a young gunning at 29. Hell, at 29, I get up, go work out, go to work. After work, go climb Stone Mountain, go ride bikes, go to dinner, then go hang out somewhere else. May not go to bed till about 2 in the morning, then back up at like 6:30. Now, admittedly, at 51, I'm still up till about 1, 2 in the morning. Unless I have to, I'm not getting up at 6:30 in the morning. Not doing that. But still very active. And those are the things that you have to consider because these movies make it seem like, you know, you can take the inactive person, the sit at home person, and then they're going to realize that they're losing you. And then because they realize that, they're going to become active now with you. They're going to go do all these things with you now. No, that's the movies. And I fell victim to that once. I fell victim. Well, sort of fell. It wasn't really the movies. It was my experience that kind of made me fall victim to a movie-ish kind of thing, but reality did set in. It's a crazy thing. During this whole dating life as an adult, my experience kept being that I would date someone, and then the things that were deal breakers for me at some point, after trying to work with them through those deal breakers, trying to get them to adjust. I was trying to change people, but I would change them based on what they said they wanted to change. This is why I went in earlier, about an hour ago. I said that you don't. I used to. If a person said they want to change some aspect about their life, I would jump in it and be working for their change harder than they would, right? So I was doing that. And then after a while, I'd see that the person is not really trying to make that change. And so the relationship would end. After the breakup, and if I still had some level of, I still had some level of communication with these people, and I would see that the changes that I was talking about, they go out and make those changes after we break up. And that was irritating me, right? I used to tell my friend Lateria, I'm tired of these. I'm tired of women making the change that I asked for after we break up. That drives me insane. Like, why can't they just do it all together? And most of the time, it's a change that they said they want for themselves. Which tells me, which then I was like, they didn't really want it for themselves, but they would make that change after we break up. So on happenstance, I end up running into a young lady that I had dated before, and I thought, we were still cool. And I thought, you know what? Maybe she's made those changes. Let me try and retread into this relationship and see if now I get the benefit instead of that benefit being passed on to some other dude. And I'm sure there are plenty of women who have experienced that as well, where they look for a change in a man, it doesn't happen, but then after the breakup, the dude changes. I'm sure there are plenty of women that have the same. But I tried to go back and try the relationship again. Got back in there, same damn problems were still there. Wind up having to break up again. If that was a movie, if it was a movie, I would have come back into the relationship and she would have already made all those changes and we would have lived happily ever after. Everything would have been perfect. Because according to the movies, according to the uh, television shows and the reality TV shows, she sees her folly. She sees the problems. She sees that she needs to make those changes for herself. And she goes and she makes those changes and run into each other again. We have this great communication again, and everything falls into place. But now she's made those. They're just frolicking through the garden. We're running through the meadows. We're dangling our feet into the creek. No, that shit don't happen. You come back and that person is still the same person. But these television shows and these movies, they'll make you think that that's a reality. It's not. It's not. So we got, when you get into a relationship, you got to build yourself up ready to have a relationship before you get into a relationship. One of the things I hate is when these people say that, unless you're financially ready. The only thing that most people focus on is if you're a man, you have to be financially ready for it. If you're a woman, then you have to be traumatic free ready for a relationship. There's a huge double standard. I think that both people should be traumatically free as well as financially ready for a relationship. I also broke up with an older woman because she told me to take off my sunglasses in a club. That night I was feeling myself on 1,000. I was feeling good. Then she said that I left her at the club. Iconic, man, you wrong, dude. I thought I was wrong for telling that lady ain't pushing her in a wheelchair. You know what popped in my head? That little song. I walked in the club saying fuck everybody but me. I walked up into the room saying F everybody but me. That's what that's what I just that just ran through my head. And I can see the Christopher Walken video when he was doing that. That's how iconic walked up into the room. Like, get everybody but me, god dog it. I'm the man. But you know what though? Uh it's little things. It's the little things that we don't pay attention to. It's good that you saw that as something that could be a problem. I did a short video a while back. Yesterday was two videos a while back, where it was like red flags, minor red flags that people don't pay attention to, that you should run when you see those things. Like this one girl, one young lady, when I heard on the phone that fire alarm chirping, the fire thing chirping, And then the next day it was chirping. Next week it was chirping, and it was still chirping. 2, 3 weeks later, I should have ran. I should have ran at that point. But instead, it took 5 months. 5 months of my life that I can never get back. Why? Because let me fix it. I'll fix it. But I should have ran then. There are certain behaviors that I've seen from people. I should have ran when I saw that behavior. It's very rare that you should give a person an opportunity to fix something and you stay with it. It's very rare. I would want that consideration for myself relative to what it is. But there are some things that are just conditioned into a person. Now, if there's an incident that's an odd incident, it doesn't, it hasn't happened, doesn't really happen, and the person has made strides for it, work it out, watch it, see if they actually make it. But when it's something that's some of those small things, though, are big indicators of larger things. I walk into your house and your house is cluttered and disorganized. Nah, we good. We good. We video chatting. You got clothes all over the floor. You got stuff all on the side of your bed. You can tell it's been sitting there for a while. Nah, we good. We good. I mean, that ain't gonna work. I hung around old cats and they told me that her wash rag is stiff. Hurry up and leave. I kind of go back and forth with that one. You know, I don't use a fresh one every day, but I get it. I get it. And and that's the thing is you have to figure out what your minor red flags that you're not paying attention, that you may ignore what they are, and you should let them go because they're not going to be the same for everybody. You have to find one. And then that's what makes it a better situation because the more alike you are with someone, the better your chance at working. You know? The more alike you are. That whole bullshit about opposites attract. That's what that movies and TV stuff got you thinking. That's what who was that? Paul Abdul, I think, did the song back in the day. Who knows the Paul Abdul song? Isn't it Paul Abdul who did the song Opposite Attracts? It might have been Paul. I think it's Paul Abdul. I know songs. I may not always know the artist, but opposites don't attract. That's only with magnets, okay? That's with magnetism. Uh, and only in certain situations. Really, I used to say, if you had heard a video that I did about 8 years ago, where I was talking about opposites attract and sometimes it's good, things like if one person is good with money, one person is bad with money, then that's a good thing but unless you got the maturity to let the person who's good with money handle the money, that might work out. I used to say that. That's a good thing. But even today, now, I don't say that because the person who's bad with money is more than likely going to have resentment towards the person who's good with money. And the person good with money is going to have resentment with the person who's bad with money. Y'all going to have financial problems. Y'all going to have issues. Simply because the person who's bad with money is going to go want to spend it on those things that makes them bad with money. And the person who's good with money is usually going to be more, what's the word here, miserly, which is going to cause them not, that's going to cause stress within the relationship. So I have my little budget plan. My poor ability with money is not making it. It's not even the spending it part. I don't like paying the electric bill. I don't like paying the gas bill. I don't like paying the water bill. It should be free. I don't want to give my money to people. I just want to give my money to experiences. So I'm a late payer. I will wait till I get a warning letter, which is why I put things to be paid automatically. And before you could do that, it was like, you handle these checkbooks. I'm not dealing with them. My money plan is, oh, it's okay. I appreciate that. But yeah, opposites don't attract. You see, I wouldn't work with a person who likes to buy a bunch of material, because she's going to want to buy material things where I'm going to want to purchase experiences. And I don't want to meet in the middle. I don't. The material things we buy will be just the ones that we need or have a desire to have, because if it feels um, hobbies or comfortability kind of situation. My lady, no. The first time she walked into my house, you know what was in the living room? The internet box. The internet box. There wasn't even no curtains up in that joint. It had blinds. The internet box and that. You know why? Because I don't use the living room. I had furniture in the den because I would use the den. My meditation room was set up, office set up, because I'm not. What do I need living room furniture for? I'm not sitting in there. Gotta turn the dining room into an office because at a kitchen table or in the bedroom. At a bed, what I need a headboard for? I don't need a headboard. I had two other, well, I was gonna say two other rooms were empty, but I had a friend of mine who had cancer and she stayed with me for the last 3 months of my life, 3, 4 months of my life. So I had a bed simply because I have a bed in, she had a hospital bed, but I had another bedroom suite in there merely because the hospice nurse needed a place to sleep. Otherwise, that room would have been empty too. But I know that there are people who they have to have a house full of furniture. To me, I only buy stuff that I'm going to use. If I'm not using it, why am I buying it? And if I haven't used something for like 6 months to a year, I'm ready to get rid of it. I'm ready to get rid of it. So a woman who likes to buy material things, it's not going to work. A woman who wants to instead take that money and go have some experiences, that works. I don't need the opposite. Person who doesn't want to travel and a person who want to travel. Mm. My wife hated my appointment in the day because like white walls, no picture, just a bed and a chair. That's with you, brother. With you. Don't need all that stuff. I ain't have no picture. I got 3 kids. There was not. I had no pictures of my kids up. I had pictures of my parents. No. Only reason I have a picture of my grandparents because I forgot who did it in the family, but they took this picture, this iconic picture of my grandma and grandfather, and they gave it to everybody. It was a gift. A lot of people find that opposites attract at first, at first, but all those opposites are eventually not going to work because it's going to work the last damn nerve. Exactly. Exactly. It's gonna work that last nerve. Like Angelina, she likes the beach. She couldn't be with a man who hates the beach. He has to at least like the beach. Or it's not gonna work. Now, for me, I like the beach. I love the water. I hate the sand. The sand gets on my nerves. Sand gets on my nerves. Vacuuming that shit out your car for 3 weeks. But because I love the water, I accept it as a part of the deal, right? Because I love water, all forms of it. Creek, waterfalls, lakes. Give me some water. But I love the mountains and I love the forest. Now, um, A woman who hates that, she's not going to live with you in the forest. If you want to, buy a mountain house and live there, not visit, live. Yeah, she ain't gonna like that. You know. So this is why, like, you have to make sure that y'all are at least accommodating to each other, and you have to be able to be cool with them doing some stuff without you. I love golf. If my lady doesn't like golf, as long as she's okay with me going to play golf, but then I still got to show the consideration of not playing golf so much that I give no time to her. You know what I'm saying? You have to be on a good schedule. You're on a good schedule of that. The opposites only work when there is enough consideration and respect and honor that you can go and express yourself in the things that you like without your mate, but it's not excessive. It's not excessive. I would never, I would never date a woman who couldn't stand cigars. Does she have to smoke cigars? It's preferable. Does she have to smoke cigars as much as I do? No. Yes, a Marine that hates sand. I sure do. Man, I'm tell you, mm, mm. When you had to go out into the field, especially at Camp Lejeune, and then when we did it in Oman and Yemen and Morocco and Desert Storm, I hated it. I hated practicing the amphibious assaults. Could not stand, because practicing that damn amphibious assault, you coming right off the water, right onto the beach, and you gotta dive all into it with your rifle and your 30-pound pack on your back and all your stuff. You know, I gotta pour water on my canteen before I can drink out the daggone canteen. It got sand all up under the little rim part of it. And you can't brush it away. Still some sand there. So I'd be at the water bowl pouring sand over my dang on canteen. Now I know in a combat situation you don't have that choice, but still, in practice, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Nah, man, I hated the sand. Hated the sand. That's why I was so happy when I was with Headquarters Marine Forces. I did never saw the sand again during those years. I was with that. I haven't seen the sand in that format. But yes, I hate the sand. My wife and I understand our energy, each other, cosmic. You get sand. I feel you exactly. And that's a cool thing when y'all feel each other's energy on a cosmic level. That's what you're doing. Because then that's when that true deeper connection comes. And you can let each other go and express themselves individually, and then y'all express yourselves as a unit. But most of and even but even most of the time, those expressions that you have individually, because of the good energy that happens in that, when y'all come together, it brings y'all closer. Sand in my ears make me fight harder. Yeah, because you irritated as hell. You irritated. Me wanting making sure I survive makes me fight harder. It ain't the mission, it's my survival that made me fight harder. Man, he just made me go into a memory, boy. Mm, 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 mm. Not a memory I can disclose, but you just made me go into a memory. But that that coming together, that's where it's at. And the more like you are, the better off you are. These movies and television shows make you opposite. Get those things. You need to let those things. And this is where, and I'm gonna use a Marine Corps terminology for this. Marine Corps principle. Know yourself and seek self improvement. Most people walk around and they don't know themselves. They don't know themselves well enough to know what their energy is, what their likes, dislikes, desires, what their needs are. They don't know enough about themselves. I simplify. They don't know enough about it with a closed mouth, or you know it. They don't know themselves enough to actually be able to end up with the proper mate, with someone who elevates them instead of someone who increases them. My lady brings an increase into my life. If she didn't bring an increase, I had to kick her to the curb. You got to go. Bye. She got to bring an increase into my life. And like I said earlier, she's way better at taking care of me than I do take care of her. Case in point, very recent experience. 2 nights ago, she said she put an order in for a massage. You know, I'm out the shower, she's ready. I got the oil. Boom. I get into the massage. Right? Give her a nice massage. She falling asleep and snoring and all that. Good massage. I put in an order for a massage last night. I come out the shower. She got candles and shit all lit up. She got glasses of wine. She got the foot soaking things, and she do the feet stuff. And then after all of that, then she gives the massage. You see what I'm saying? She embarrassed me, man. She's embarrassing. I didn't think about no candles and fruit. I had some music. Well, I had some tones because I was doing a tantric energy massage. Well, I had some cephalagios. She got the nice, all that stuff. Just making a brother look bad. You know what I'm saying? Just making a brother look bad. But I appreciate it. And it just tells me, well, I gotta up my game some more. Gotta up my game. And even like, and you always have to be consistent too with your game. I took her something about my woman. I'm soaking and rubbing my, boy, what you talking about? I usually don't like people touching my feet. Doing that massage, I was like, here you go. Put it in that hot water. She rubbed it and sprayed it and put some stuff on there and was scrubbing it with some stones or something she had. I don't know. My eyes were closed. She put some mask thing on my face though. Can't drink wine with that mask thing on your face. Had to drink the wine after. But yeah, I mean, she is amazing, and she takes way better care of me. And but you got to be consistent with what you do. Don't make it a one time thing. Like I was, man, I was wearing her out, bro. I was bringing the great thing is you showing up at her job with the flowers. I was consistent. But then I recognized, I went through a little bit of a financial down for a couple of months here at the cigar lounge. And then I guess it was about a week ago. So I realized, oh shit, I haven't taken her flowers at her job in it. And another part of that was because it was the financial downturn a little bit, but that's no excuse. Because if you got money to buy these, I buy them at wholesale since I own the joint. There was still the opportunity, but in time, I got to make sure I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to do live videos. Now it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But I was just like, you know what? It was last Friday. What the hell am I talking about? It was last Friday. I was like, you know what? I don't care if I'm early, if I'm late. Let me make sure I get over there. Let me make sure I bring her some flowers. Another part of it, I'm pretty sure them women at her job were probably like, he ain't brought her no flowers in a month or two. I wonder if everything's all right over there. I had to take her some flowers last Friday. And I realized, I thought about it, I have no excuse to not consistently do what I was doing before and keep it going. So even if sometimes I might be late to start a video because I'm gonna make sure she gets her flowers or whatever it is I bring over there, flowers, stuffed animals. Because I got to keep her coworkers jealous. I mean, but she still outdoes me. She's always ahead of me. She's always ahead of me. That's a good thing. She knew that I was that guy when she was in town and had flowers delivered to her. See, that's some boss level shit. And it ain't a lot of us see these movies and television shows make you think you got to go buy her a car. You got to take her. You got to, you know, get on a flight to Bali at the last minute. All that kind of stuff. You get to know your woman, and you find out what those little things that you can consistently do to keep her smiling. The little things. It ain't always the big things. It's the little things. It could be something as simple as she's sitting next to you and you asking her if she wants or you get something. Just if she likes surprises, just whatever small surprise here or there, whatever it is, just doing it. It's about loving a person in the formats that they receive love, not in the format that you want to give it, but in the way that they receive it. That translates to them as love. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of these movies and television shows do project those kind of things out, but those things are minimized for the big bullshit that I have. But figuring those things out, taking your time with those. That's what makes it work. That's the reality. And having that consistency of doing it. Even though I love the movie Food When Fools Rush In, concept of it, one night, something that was supposed to just been a one night thing. She gets pregnant, they go ahead and get married, all this stupid stuff happened. That last part with, oh, there's signs everywhere. And he would have got on that helicopter and went off with that girl that's been chasing him forever with their families. But instead, he flies to Mexico, gets on a tranvia, was a chicken bus, go out to see the grandmama. Grandmama said she went back to Vegas to have a baby. He flies, somehow gets ahead of her. Well, flying, you get ahead of her. He flew, got ahead of her. Then is showing up at the Hoover Dam with her and stops her in the middle of the dam and professes his love and all this kind of stuff. And then she has the baby on the bridge, and then they get back together and they're all happy. That's some Hollywood bullshit. That dude would have went on with his life and just paid some child support. That would have been the end of the movie. But a movie got a movie. They had to do that so the movie can happen. That's not real life. Not even slightly. People aren't going out here making these huge displays of love and dedication when things are down like that. Now, not saying that you shouldn't make huge displays of dedication and love to your man or to your woman. You should. But that level, that kind of bullshit, yeah, I went up an octave or two. That level bullshit, that's hell no. We're not doing that. It's not going to work. You can try it. You can sit here and be like, yeah, I remember old Susie from back in the day. Great, man. 20 years ago, I should have made that. She's the one that got away. You think, you know what? Let me call old Susie. And they'll show you that in the movie. And it's very rare that it actually happens in life. But most of the time, you call those Susie, and dark green know I'm about to go with this. You call those Susie, you run into Susie, and Susie done turned to Susie Rotten Crotch. Susie got 15 babies. Susie broke. Well, Susie done went through a whole bunch of crazy, dramatic stuff with previous people, and now she got this wall of defense up. Oh, Susie ain't who Susie used to be when you knew Susie. Susie done changed over 20 years. Susie different. The movies make you think that Susie's still the same. Susie Rotten Crotch now. You got changed up on. Werewolf in Brooklyn. I mean, Vampire in Brooklyn. She did flip flop, flip flop it. As y'all can tell, I really love movies. Watch a lot of movies, but I realize that they're fictional and fake. Then we get caught up. Yeah, there's like, the beauty of things like Facebook and all that is that you can still kind of like see the people that you used to know. And Jody ran through Susie, sure did. But I still see a lot of these people that I grew up with. And although some of them seem the same as they were, when I actually ran into them, because we have like this private block party for people who grew up in Marietta that we don't invite other people to unless you're like with them, like in a relationship with them. But we don't put it out so that arbitrary people can just come to it. When I meet them and I see them, although they seem to be very much the same online, they have drastically changed who they used to. And many of them can't get down with me because they still try to hold me to the person that I used to be 30 plus years ago. I've been to the Marine Corps. I've been in combat. I've done so many things in my life. It's an impossibility for me to be the same person I was 10 years ago. Sometimes even your family try to hold you to the same person for 30 years. No, completely different. But that social media also is a facade, right? That social media will make you think that a person is a certain way. And that's not their true reality. I tried the dating apps at one point. And there's nothing wrong with using dating apps because it opens you up to a bigger pool of people. But the one thing you do definitely have to recognize is that those people that they are putting their best foot forward, they're putting their representative forward. There are some people. There's a young lady that I see on my social media. She followed me. I follow her because of cigars. But you would think that she is world traveling, that she is banking, doing great big things, that she is constantly world traveling, right? And she is world traveling. But I met her a couple times and come to realize she world traveling because her job has her world traveling. A lot of her videos and pictures makes you think that she's just on vacation and she got all this money. But no, her job just takes her to these very beautiful places all the time. That's right. Salute to Mr. Overton. That's like I think this is the right side. No, that's the wrong side. That's a picture of Mr. Overton right up there on my wall. That first picture. That's Mr. Overton. Well, 10 to 12 cigars a day. Oldest World War II vet for a while. Died at 112, 114, somewhere around in there. Right? There's a delay, so that's why my finger pointing is wrong. Yeah, that social media will make you think a person is a certain way, and they're really not. They're not that way at all. Or let me not say not that way at all. That's an aspect of who they are. And we will buy into the aspects of what we see on social media of who a person is. And in truth, they are not they that is a very fragmentary part of who they really are. Once we know that, we should run. But oftentimes we stay stuck thinking that we can make that their norm. When I was having a conversation with a young lady who looks like she just world traveling, living life fantastic, but it's really her job. One of the things she told me is that it is very difficult for her to date anyone because she's always traveling, she's always gone. She's hardly ever present. So she pretty much have digital relationships. Now I wasn't trying to talk to her myself. I was just actually trying to get her to be an ambassador for the cigar, for my house cigar. The reason why we was having a conversation. But that's her life. And a person like me, my lady has to be with me constantly. Which is a whole nother bag. I want to see my lady every day. Hell with this traveling bullshit. Met a lady who at last summer before I met my lady, met this other lady last summer. Everything seems great on the surface. But she was a travel agent. I mean, she was a flight attendant. As soon as she said she was a flight attendant, my interest started going away. Because I was like, I ain't gonna see you. You're gonna be gone all the time. And I don't have the ability to jump on every plane. No, that wasn't gonna work. But that comes to knowing who you are. Because the more you know about who you are, then the better you can pick. Like I said earlier, this one lady, and hear me clearly, one counselor, she told me, your picker is wrong. Your picker is off. You don't uh, take the time to truly evaluate the person and see how well they match up with you. So that when you pick her, you are picking her correctly. So your picker, I heard me say pick her, pick her, pick. I know Dark Green is going to go somewhere else with that. I know Iconic Man probably goes somewhere else with that. And Angelina will go definitely somewhere else with that one. But it was. And my ability to communicate that when I truly delve within myself and to know who I am and not my ability to express that because it is my truth versus expressing it in ways because yeah, I know you did. Instead of expressing it in ways that I was trying not to hurt their feelings or scare them away. I didn't want to scare people away, but they needed to know who I am and what my true expectations were in a relationship. They needed to know that. Without them knowing that, I was setting myself up and them for failure. But over since about 2015, I was working on it. I was first told this in 2014. It took me until about 2017 to really hone in on it to where I felt excuse me, where I felt comfortable and confident in just expressing this is who I am. These are my desires. This is what I'm looking for. These are my expectations. If you don't match up with them, we should not be together. And those things helped me because when I did get into what was supposed to be a long-term relationship, when the things that I had expressed then came back at me as, well, you now can't do this, or you can't want to do this or desire to do this because now we're in this relationship. I was like, the hell? Hell, I'm not. This relationship will only last for as long as this point, and then after that point, this relationship won't be anymore because I'm going to do this. And then that particular thing was leaving America, mainland America. There's no way I'm going to live in mainland America, and that was expressed thoroughly for years because me and this person was friends for associate friends for like 7 years before we got into a relationship. And tell me after the relationship is supposedly solid that I can't move out the country without considering the fact that they don't want to move out. Marriage will not keep me in this country. This is what I literally said. I literally told her, marriage will not keep me in this country. I will leave. Plain and simple. Ain't at the airport with your bags packed. Sorry. Yeah. But we was going to be done anyway because that person would resent leaving the entire, even if they did leave, they would have had a resentment towards leaving. And having that resentment would definitely fail the relationship. So then I would have felt responsible for taking a person outside of this country, them being unhappy, and now I got to send them back. And that's not fair to that person. So it was going to be over anyway. I would not have even said, oh, because I did that once before, not leave the country, but there was a situation where the person was like, they didn't want me to start a company. And I was going to end that relationship at that moment. Because when you met me, that's all I ever done. That's all I've done since the Marine Corps. I had a corporate job for like 3 seconds. When they came back to me a day or two later saying that, okay, we can do it together, I should have said, no, we're not. And if we can't do, and if you're going to be this way towards that, then we should not be together, period. What's your timetable for getting out, if you don't mind me asking? Okay, nobody's in here. So I can tell you. Keep this to yourself now. Without telling anybody else. Stand. January. January, I'm out of here. After January, y'all see these lives, it'll be a really different background. Now, you might see some lives when I'm at home, I mean, now and then. But January, I'm out of here. Or later than that. Hold on, it's 12 o'clock. Let me unlock this door. Where I got to go. Yeah, I had to look around, make sure the coast is clear. January, I'm out. And see, that's a big part of who I am. I can't I can't live here. Can't do all the stress that's in this country. You want to move to Africa as well? Actually, I was contemplating probably Friday's live, discussing what we need to do, what you need to do to set yourself up to be able to leave this country. Oh, most assuredly, I sure am. On straight up Andy Dufresne, y'all. You know, I tell you where the oak tree is at, so you can follow suit. Now, we might do that on Friday. I'll tell you where the oak tree is at on Friday. Yeah, you know what? That's the video we're gonna do. That's the live discussion we're gonna have on Friday. Is you have a desire to leave this country? What countries are good countries to go to? What type of situation you should be in order to leave? How you should leave? All that stuff. We're gonna do that on Friday. I want to get my research together. I know a lot of stuff because I've already researched a lot of stuff, but I want to have some notes. I want to do that. That's some important stuff there. I don't want anybody to ever come back to me and say that, man, you told me go to over here, go over there, and you didn't tell me about this part. There's always gonna be some parts that I don't know, but I want to make sure. We we really do need to have a good portion of Black Americans in America. We need some of them to stay, but we need a good portion of them. We need like a third to leave America and go out and build and create a strong foundation for us to have growth that is not controlled by the American economy, by the American laws. We need that third for us, preferably Africa. Where there's a will, there is a way. I've had this will for 1990. When did I want to first say that I want? I'm not living in America. It was around 90, somewhere, but it was in 94. In around 94 is when I realized that I don't want to live in America. The only reason that I'm still here, I've been here, is because there was a little trickery in the early parts of my life. Then it was my kids. I grew up with living here in Marietta. My father was living in Florida. Thankfully, I had my grandfather and all that. And when I did get to know my father, I was 27 years old. We still developed a good relationship, but I was 27. I was not leaving the everyday locality wherever my kids were. Don't get me wrong. I was straight trying to convince their mom, why don't you get a DOD teaching job? Get your DOD teaching job and go overseas. I would sign all the paperwork. I'd be right there. Mhm. Ain't got to stay here. I don't want to stay here. I gotta go. That was a very important thing within my dating process. Um, when I was dating this past summer, you know, within the first or second conversation, it was, I'm going to leave America. These are the places that I'm going to go initially. So, how you feel about that? And if they stammered, if they hemmed and hawed, if they, no, I'm done. This ain't gonna work. You always like the Himalayas. I want to go, and want, I will. And thankfully, the Buddhists will allow you to do it in spurts. There's a 3-year time frame that you have to spend at a monastery to become a lama, but just the study of it all. But they'll let you come and stay for a week or a month, however long you decide, and let you leave, and then you come back, and leave and come back. But I would, I do have the plan to do that in the Himalayas, in Tibetan mountains, but because I love having a lady, I cannot go 3 years and just do that. Actually, if my son didn't go to the Air Force, that was his secondary plan. His secondary plan was to go and spend 3 years and become a lama or a monk and then leave. Can you imagine a black man lama or monk? And he's teaching, he's out here teaching the spirituality of that and the life lessons of that. I was like, boy, you can make some good money. Make some good money doing that. Hell, I don't even want to leave here in Minnesota. My wife lives in Arizona. Ooh, I couldn't do that, bro. Iconic man, you are a special kind of dude. I can't do that. My lady got to be with me all the time. If it works for y'all, it works for y'all. That's the most important thing. Something works for you, let it work for you. Don't let other people mess up your stuff. I couldn't do it. One, I couldn't do it because it's cold as hell in Minnesota. I did recently over the last few years realize there's a lot of black people in Minnesota, but there ain't no way in hell to live in Minnesota. It is way too cold. Georgia is too cold for me. There's no way I can live in Minnesota. I can live in Arizona though. I can do the desert. It depends on where in Arizona, of course. Like if it was like Yuma, Arizona, hell no. But you know, Phoenix, Sanford, is it Sanford? I could do that. Tucson, I could do that. But it's America, so eventually I ain't gonna do that. But yeah, I know that has to be hard. Got to see my woman. Me and her got to. I'm too affectionate to not be around my woman on a daily basis, and that's another thing. I had to learn how to express to people, and that was actually I learned that one in 2009 when I dated a girl who was like, "Well, I got to get used to all this hand holding and all that stuff," and I was like, "Hmm, hmm, you're not gonna work." Yeah, whatever. You can have 77 degrees all you want to right now. It ain't gonna be 77 degrees in October, November, December, January, February, March, negative 77. Not gonna do it. Each his own. Lots of naked. That joker said lots of naked FaceTime. Glad that you're so free and expressive that you don't give a damn about what other people think. Lots of naked time, naked FaceTime. It would have to be. You know what y'all need? Y'all need the. I don't know if you saw the movie Ready Player One, where you can have the whole virtual, and he had the bodysuit on that allows you to feel the things in the virtual reality world. You need the Ready Player One VR and bodysuit. And, mm-mm. I be leaving Minnesota. I don't care how good St. Paul or Minneapolis, or I'm assuming you live in one of those cities. I don't care how good those cities are. I had to spend 14 days in Minnesota. I ate it all 14 days. It's too damn cold. Too cold. But since y'all are making that work, don't let outside influences come in and deter you. If y'all got a plan, whatever your plan is, keep doing it. Keep rocking with it. And don't let nobody change it. Just because that wouldn't work for me does not mean it's not working for y'all. I look, iconic man. I'd have to go get me a one of them dolls that's made like her. It had to be an exact replica, and it's not just for the bedtime. Uh, like I'd be sitting there watching movies with it. Yeah, baby. and then have her FaceTiming so that I'm talking to her, but I'm holding on to her life model decoy. I'd be holding on to her life model decoy, sitting at dinner with her life model decoy and everything, driving down the street with her life model decoy, and having her on FaceTime. I got to make it work. Mm-mm. And I shut this cigar lounge down and be like, babe, I'm coming to Arizona. And I can't do. I can't. We don't have to be together. That's me. That's me. It doesn't have to be you. I'm sure you want to be with her. I'm sure she wants to be with you. And like you said, y'all have a plan. And so you got the discipline and the patience to work the plan. So work your plan and keep on trucking. Whatever you're doing. Whatever y'all doing, however you doing. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish off for today. I think we can all agree that movies, television, shows, and things of that nature, books and plays, have given people this false sense of what a relationship is and how relationship works, functions. And we definitely need to realize that it's all fictional. What really is going to work is you discovering more who you are, becoming happy with who you are, and matching up with someone who highlights that, and you highlight them. Y'all come into oneness with each other, come into a spiritual, physical, financial, emotional oneness with each other, and then your relationship will be actually successful. Time does not make your relationship successful. Being with someone for 40 years doesn't make it successful. Success is the level of happiness that you both have with yourselves and share with each other. That is what will make your relationship successful. And going through the process of discovering all those things may mean that you will break some eggs, right? And make some ugly ass omelets. But it's okay. It's all right to make those. It's all right to I had a guy who came into the lounge yesterday who hadn't seen me for at least about 3-4 months. And he made the comment, he said, I see you got your new girl. He was like, Renz, he said, you be going through them. I said, dude, for the entire time that you have known me, including the one you just saw in the pictures, you've only seen, that's 3 people in almost 2 years. It's not a going through nobody. It's you try, you see, you realize, and if it's good, you move on. I mean, if it's great, you keep it. If it's good, you watch it. But if it's not good, you let it go. So don't worry about what other people. You do what you got to do to find that right person. Right. As far as what time on Friday, it will be. Everything is scheduled. Everything except Monday morning is scheduled for 10 a.m. Monday mornings is 8 a.m. 8 to 8:30, 8 or 8:30 a.m. Depending on how that morning goes. But most of the time, it's going to be right between that 8 and 8:30. Monday morning is our meditation motivation Monday, and then Tuesday we continue with our deconstruction of spiritual of religions. Today, Wednesdays, we do relationships. Thursday is usually going to be something dealing with alchemy, hermetics, base spiritualities. And then Friday is more of a free-for-all where we might deal with money or politics or things of that nature. And this Friday, we're definitely going to talk about what we need to do to prepare ourselves and why we should leave America. At least say 1/3 of us should leave America, and what we should do and what our goal should be, and how we plan for that and get ready for that. All the things that we have to put into it. I don't know what tomorrow's show is going to be about. I got this very intriguing book that I wrote, and it shows parallel sayings and thought processes between Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and the Tao. All 3 teach the same thing. Might pull something from that book on tomorrow. Don't hold me to it. If I had the money, I would love to buy land in Africa, but are there trusted realtors? Yes, there are. There are plenty of trusted realtors. There are expats who are realtors who have left here and they become realtors there, but there are trusted realtors who are born and bred there. Actually, I just started following one such realtor on Instagram. And I want to show y'all something. Because you brought that up, I want to show you something. It shouldn't be. I don't know if it's hard for me to find. I don't use Instagram as much. I don't necessarily know how to find people that I'm following myself on Instagram. But there is one realtor that I do follow on Instagram. He's the first realtor I've ever followed on Instagram, actually. And I tell you, this little girl, he's showing some houses and stuff in Kigali, Rwanda, and the price points. It was this one house I saw for $145,000 that here in Atlanta would easily cost you around 800,000. And then we did the research to figure out what the cost of living and whatnot over there. The same way you can live, the same way somebody lives who makes a low to mid six figures in Mali, in Kigali, is how you would be living over there. I can't find it because I don't know how to find people on Instagram, and I don't know the name of it. I don't know how to see. I don't follow a lot of people. Oh, maybe I should just click on that. How you doing, man? That's for me. Yeah. Yep. All right. You need. Appreciate you. Who is this from? Oh, Amazon. That can't be what I just ordered. Let's see. Sorry about that delay. Yeah. I just want to show you guys this before I get off here. Is this the one? Oh, I appreciate that, Earl. I do appreciate everybody for being here, for subscribing, uh, for for sharing the videos. I really do greatly appreciate that. Yeah, that's the video. What did Earl say? If you donate to the channel, because everything that's in that Amazon package I just got is for doing better podcasts. Missed yesterday's stream, so here today. Appreciate it. I'm looking at moving to Costa Rica once I retire in 4 years from now. A lot of people are choosing Costa Rica. But I want to show you guys this. This is a realtor that I would trust in Golly. Hang on. I know it's on delay, so I want you guys to see this house. You can get this house for $145,000 in Kigali. And Rwanda is great right now. It is not. Ooh, now it actually came up. It's horrible on the screen. Y'all can't see shit. It looks like crap. That's one thing I don't like about this delay. Because I can't tell instantly if I'm showing y'all something good or bad. But this house is 145,000. Golly. Oh, it's not so bad. You can kind of get the gist of it. All these ring lights and stuff. 145,000 for this house. And now in Africa, before you couldn't get a loan from American banks. Certain banks that have a charter in these countries that are American banks, you can now get a home loan for them. Other ones, they now have institutions, banking institutions in those countries that will allow you to, that they'll allow you to buy a house. Yeah, you know what? You are right, Dark Green. IG handle. Let me just post that. Her handle is her IG. I help if I actually on there. IG. The short African girl. It's one that she got this farmland. You can get 3.7 acres of farmland for $28,000. $28,000. And then my lady, she did research on the cost of living over there. The only reason we wouldn't choose Rwanda is because Rwanda is landlocked. You got Lake Victoria, which is a huge lake. You got Victoria Falls, but it's landlocked. Can't do the landlocked. We are going to call it a day, and I will see you. For those of you who follow me for the spiritual stuff, I will see you tomorrow, where we're going to work on our spiritual development. Remember, everybody's path is their own path. And I will see you tomorrow. So whatever works for you, works for you. Whatever does not, throw it away. Don't use it. If you're good where you are, stay where you at. I never want anybody to change any of those things because I said so. Change things because you say so. Right? And then Friday, we're going to talk about the best ways in some of the industries that are makes it easy and possible for you to be able to. Whereas one guy I follow call it damn Erica. Some of y'all may know who that guy is. Well, y'all have a great day. And remember, you have to free yourself to be. Greatness is non-negotiable. The journey, good vibration.